Every man faces chaos. The question is, does he flinch, or does he move through it like a ghost? The way of the undefeated samurai is not noise or rage. It is poise under pressure, calm under fire, precision under threat. The blade you carry is not in your hand, it's in your mind. And if that blade is dull, the world will cut you down. But sharpen it, and no one can touch you. This is your path to unshakable strength. Subscribe to our channel if you're ready to master your mind. And tell us, where are you watching from? Listen carefully, for what I tell you now comes not from books or borrowed wisdom, but from blood spilled on battlefields and victories carved from the flesh of experience. You stand here seeking the way of the warrior, but you look outward when the first battle lies within. I have watched thousands of men fall before ever reaching their enemy, defeated not by steel, but by the chaos in their own minds. The battle that matters most is fought in absolute silence, in the darkest corners of your soul. It is the war against your own weakness, your own fear, your own hesitation. This battle never ends. It begins again with each sunrise, with each breath, with each decision. Every morning when you wake, an army awaits you, not of flesh and steel, but of doubts, excuses, and comfortable lies. These are your true enemies. They whisper to you, "Rest longer. Try tomorrow. The path is too hard." These voices, they are the assassins of greatness. I have trained samurai who could split a hair with their blade, yet trembled before their own thoughts. What use is a sharp sword in the hands of a weak mind? None. The greatest technique means nothing if your spirit breaks under pressure. You must understand this truth. Every external battle is won or lost in the mind first. When I faced my first duel at 13, my opponent was bigger, stronger, more experienced. But in my mind, I had already won, not through arrogance, through absolute clarity of purpose. I remember watching young warriors train until their hands bled, perfecting their sword technique, yet neglecting the weapon that mattered most, their mind. They would practice the same cut 1,000 times, but fail to cut through their own fear even once. These warriors, despite their physical prowess, were already defeated. Start your training here. When you feel the urge to react, pause. When emotions flood you, stand still. When your mind races with 1,000 thoughts, find the space between them. This is where your power begins. This is where mastery takes root. Each day, challenge yourself in small ways: cold showers, fasting, silent meditation. These are not acts of punishment. They are your first duels. Master these, and larger battles become mere echoes of what you've already conquered. Every discomfort you embrace voluntarily is a victory over your weaker self. The untrained mind is like a drunk samurai, all power, no precision, a danger to itself. But a mind forged in the flames of daily discipline becomes an unbreakable blade. It cuts through fear, through doubt, through the illusions that keep lesser men bound. I once knew a warrior who could perform every technique perfectly in practice, but in real combat, his mind would betray him. His thoughts would scatter like leaves in a storm. Why? Because he had never truly faced himself. He had mastered the sword, but remained a slave to his inner chaos. In your own life, you face this same challenge, every distraction, every moment. Of procrastination, every surrender to comfort over growth. These are not merely bad habits. They are battles lost in the war within. Every time you choose the easy path, you strengthen your inner enemy. I tell you this not as philosophy, but as strategy. The warrior who masters himself has already won 1,000 battles. His presence alone becomes a weapon. His silence speaks louder than shouts. His stillness more threatening than movement. When he walks into a room, others feel it, not because he seeks to intimidate, but because inner mastery radiates like heat from a flame. You must learn to be your own harshest master and your most compassionate friend. Push yourself beyond what you think possible, but do not break yourself in the process. This is the delicate balance of inner warfare, knowing when to attack and when to nurture. Remember, your greatest opponent wears your face, speaks with your voice, knows your weaknesses. Defeat this enemy, and the world opens before you like a flower before the dawn. This opponent will never fully disappear, nor should you want it to. It is the whetstone against which you sharpen yourself. Begin now, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, now. Because the war within has already started. Whether you've chosen to fight or not, every moment of delay is a victory for your inner enemy, every hesitation, a wound in your armor. This is the first and most crucial battle of your life. Win it daily, and all other victories will follow like shadows chasing the sun. The modern world drowns in noise. Everyone shouts. Everyone demands attention. Fools mistake volume for power, chaos for progress. But true power moves in silence, like the blade that splits the air before you know it's there. I learned this. Truth not in temples, but in combat. When steel meets steel, when death dances at the edge of your vision, in these moments noise becomes your enemy. The warrior who lets his mind be pulled by every sound, every distraction, every emotion, is already defeated. You say you cannot find silence, that the world is too loud? Listen closer. The silence is always there, beneath the chaos, like still water beneath thrashing waves. Your task is not to create silence, it is to sink beneath the noise. In my time, I faced warriors who would scream, stamp their feet, wave their swords like branches in a storm. They died quietly. The most dangerous opponents were those who moved like shadows, whose presence you felt before you saw, whose stillness made you doubt your own movement. Here is your first lesson in stillness. Start with your morning. No phone, no voices, no distractions, just you, your breath, and the rising sun. This is not meditation for peace. It is training for power. In this silence, you will hear your true thoughts, face your true fears. The untrained mind fears silence. It rushes to fill every space with noise, every moment with movement. This is weakness disguised as activity. The master knows that power accumulates in stillness, like a sword-gathering forest before the strike. When others speak, learn to listen not just to their words, but to the spaces between them. When they move, watch not just their bodies, but the stillness they disturb. This is the way of the ghost warrior, seeing what others miss because they cannot quiet their own minds. Train yourself in small silences first, 5 minutes before you react to an insult, 10 breaths before you make a decision, a moment of absolute stillness before any important action. These spaces between impulse and action. This is where battles are won. You think stillness is passive? No. True stillness is as active as any. Movement as powerful as any strike. It is the coiled snake, the gathered storm, the arrow, an instant before release. In stillness, you become unreadable. In silence, you become unstoppable. The noise of the world, opinions, judgments, endless chatter, is a veil of leaves. The wise warrior does not fight the leaves. He finds the space between them, moves through them like wind. Let others exhaust themselves in argument and outrage. You remain still, watching, waiting. Your mind must become like the surface of an undisturbed pond, reflecting everything, disturbed by nothing. This is not a state you reach once and keep forever. It is a practice, a way of being that you must choose again and again, moment by moment. I once dueled a warrior who had studied under the greatest masters of his province. His technique was flawless, his movements precise, but his mind was a storm of thoughts, hopes of victory, fears of defeat, memories of past battles. With each clash of our swords, I could feel his inner chaos. He fought not just me, but his own noise. In the end, it was not my sword that defeated him, but his own mental turbulence. Consider the bamboo in a strong wind. It does not fight against the force that bends it. It does not waste energy in resistance. It remains silent, flexible, rooted. When the wind passes, it stands unchanged. This is your model for facing life's challenges, not rigid resistance, but silent adaptability. In your daily life, create pockets of deliberate silence. When you eat, eat in silence. When you walk, walk in silence. When you work, find the quiet spaces between tasks. These are not breaks from life. They are life itself, lived at its highest intensity. The ultimate test of your mastery of silence will come not in solitude, but in chaos. Can you maintain your inner stillness when the world around you burns? Can you act with clarity when others panic? Can you listen to the subtle rhythms of opportunity when everyone else hears only danger? When you truly understand silence, you will understand power, not the power that needs to prove itself, but the power that simply is. Like the moon, moving tides, like gravity holding worlds, silent, absolute, undeniable. This is the power you must cultivate, the strength that comes not from noise, but from its absence. Remember, the loudest sword is not the sharpest. The greatest power lies not in what you add to your life, but in what you remove. The distractions cut away, the noise silenced, the chaos stilled. Listen well to what I tell you now, for this lesson has saved my life more times than the sharpest sword. Attachment is a chain that will drag you to your death, whether it's to victory, to possessions, to reputation, or even to life itself. Attach to nothing, and you become unstoppable. I have watched skilled warriors fall not to superior technique, but to their own attachments. They were bound to their favorite stance, their signature move, their undefeated record. In combat, these attachments became their executioners. A warrior who cannot let go of his preferred technique is like a man drowning because he refuses to release his gold. You think you understand non-attachment because you've read about it in books? No, this is not philosophy. It is survival. When you truly detach, you move like water through the world. No emotion can trap you. No situation can corner you. No loss can break you. I once faced a samurai who was famous for his perfect form. He had spent 20 years perfecting a single attack. His attachment to this perfection was his weakness. I broke his rhythm with deliberate imperfection, and his mind shattered before his body fell. He died clinging to an idea of excellence that had become his prison. Here is your first task in mastering detachment. Begin with small things. Your morning routine, your favorite food, your daily habits. Change them randomly. Sleep on the other side of your bed. Eat foods you don't particularly like. Take a different route to work. Your comfort zones are coffins in disguise. When you train, abandon the need for your movements to look good. Abandon the need to impress. These are attachments that will slow your blade and cloud your mind. The truly deadly warrior is not concerned with appearance, only with effectiveness. Your reputation? Let it go. Your past victories? Let them go. Your failures? Let them go. These are all chains. Every morning die to who you were yesterday. Every moment is new combat, and yesterday's techniques may be today's traps. You fear loss? Good. Go straight into that fear. Lose deliberately. Fail deliberately. Let go deliberately. Only by practicing detachment in small things can you maintain it when everything is at stake. I have won battles because I was willing to look like a fool. I have survived because I was willing to abandon positions of advantage when they became traps. Most men live their lives trapped in a web of attachments. They are attached to being right, to being respected, to being comfortable. Each attachment is a handle by which fate can grab them, a rope by which destiny can hang them. But you must learn to live like a ghost through this world. Watch how people destroy themselves through attachment. They cannot leave a toxic relationship because they are attached to the dream of what it could be. They cannot leave a dying business because they are attached to their identity as its owner. They cannot grow because they are attached to who they were. This is not a prescription for a life without meaning. Instead, it is the path to finding true meaning, meaning that cannot be lost because it is not attached to anything external. When you detach from outcomes, your actions become pure. When you detach from recognition, your power becomes absolute. Consider the blade of grass in a storm. It survives while mighty oaks fall. Why? Because it has no attachment to its shape. It bends, it flows, it adapts. Yet when the storm passes, it still remains itself. This is your model for moving through life. You must understand, detachment is not passivity. It is not withdrawal. It is the highest form of engagement with life. When you are truly detached, you can act with complete commitment while being ready to change everything in an instant. Like a master general who can abandon a winning strategy the moment the battlefield changes. Even in your closest relationships, maintain your detachment. Love without clinging, care without controlling, fight without hatred, win without pride. This is the way of the undefeated mind. The ultimate test will come when you must let go of your strongest attachments, your self-image, your beliefs, your certainties. Can you abandon a winning strategy when the battlefield changes? Can you kill your most cherished ideas when they no longer serve truth? This is where true power lies. Remember, the more you can let go of, the less can be used against you. The fewer anchors you have, the more freely you can move. The less you need, the more powerful you become. This is not philosophy. This is war. The greatest disease in the warrior's mind is emotion unchecked. I have seen master swordsmen reduced to stumbling children because they could not control their anger. I have watched skilled strategists crumble under the weight of their own fear. Emotion is a sword that cuts its wielder first. You think passion makes you stronger? Look closer. In my 60 years of combat, I have never seen an emotional warrior defeat a calm one. Passion clouds your vision, tenses your muscles, narrows your options. The passionate warrior is predictable, and predictable warriors decorate graveyards. I remember a duel with a young samurai who came at me with rage in his eyes and revenge in his heart. His brother had fallen to my blade in a previous battle, and he sought to restore his family's honor. His emotion made him strong, yes, but it also made him blind. He could not see the trap I laid because his anger showed him only one path forward. His death was written in his first emotional step. Understand this, emotions are not your enemy. They are like weather in your mind, sometimes calm, sometimes stormy. The warrior's task is not to eliminate emotions, but to prevent them from commanding your blade. Feel them, acknowledge them, but never let them drive your decisions. You must learn to act with perfect clarity, even when your heart is screaming. This is not natural. It must be trained. Begin with small irritations. When someone cuts you off in traffic, when a colleague insults you, when life deals you a minor injustice. These are your practice grounds. Can you maintain your center when small emotions try to steal your control? I once knew a samurai who was famous for his short temper. Enemies would deliberately provoke him, knowing his anger would create openings. One day, he challenged me. Instead of fighting, I simply stepped aside each time he attacked, letting his own fury exhaust him. He defeated himself more thoroughly than my sword ever could. Here is your first task in mastering emotion. Learn to watch your feelings as if they belong to someone else. When anger rises, don't say, "I am angry." Say, "Anger is present." When fear comes, don't say, "I am afraid." Say, "Fear is visiting." This distance is your first defense against emotional slavery. The battlefield tests this skill like nothing else. When arrows darken the sky, when the ground trembles with cavalry, when death whispers in your ear, can you maintain your clarity? Can you think and move with precision when everything within you screams to run or freeze? Most warriors try to pump themselves up before battle, feeding their emotions like throwing wood on a fire. This is the way of the amateur. The true master grows calmer as danger increases. Like the eye of a storm, the greater the chaos around. You, the more still you must become within. Your emotions will lie to you. They will tell you that you must act now, that you must prove yourself, that you must not show weakness. These are the whispers of death. The truth is often the opposite. You must wait, you must remain humble, you must be willing to appear weak to achieve victory. Consider how emotions distort reality. Anger makes mountains out of pebbles. Fear turns shadows into demons. Pride blinds you to your weaknesses. Desire draws you into traps. Each emotion is a lens that bends the truth. The warrior must learn to see through clear glass. Train yourself in emotional mastery through deliberate exposure to discomfort. Sit in silence when you want to speak. Stand still when you want to move. Act when you want to wait. Each time you master an emotional impulse, you sharpen your true sword, your will. Even positive emotions can be weapons against you. Joy over. A victory can blind you to approaching danger. Love for a comrade can make you hesitate at a crucial moment. Confidence from success can lead you into ambush. All emotions, pleasant or painful, must be held at arm's length. Remember this, in the moment of combat, whether with sword, with words, or with life itself, you have no emotions. You are the sky through which clouds pass. You are the mountain around which storms rage. You are the deep ocean undisturbed by surface waves. The ultimate test of emotional mastery is this: can you act with full commitment while remaining completely calm? Can you fight as if your life depends on victory while staying unattached to the outcome? This paradox is the heart of the warrior's way. Your emotions are like untrained horses, powerful but dangerous if not properly mastered. Do not kill them. Do not fight them. Train them. Turn them from wild masters into obedient servants. Then and only then will you understand true power. Listen carefully to what I tell you now, for this is the secret that separates the living masters from the dead experts. Your mind is not just a tool, it is your masterpiece. Like a sword that must be forged, polished, and sharpened daily, your mind requires constant refinement. But unlike a sword, your mind has no limits to its potential edge. I have watched warriors spend years perfecting their sword techniques while leaving their minds as dull as rusted blades. They failed to understand that the greatest weapon is not the steel in their hands, but the steel in their thoughts. A master's mind cuts through problems before they become battles. You think you know your mind? You are like a man who has lived in a house for years but never opened certain doors, never looked behind certain walls. Your mind has depths you have not explored, strengths you have not tapped, insights you have ignored. Every day that you leave these resources untouched is a day you fight with only half your power. In my years of combat, I discovered that the warrior who masters his mind gains powers that seem supernatural to others. He can read intentions before movements begin. He can sense weakness in seemingly impenetrable defenses. He can find victory in situations that appear hopeless. This is not magic. It is the natural result of a mind honed to perfection. Here is your first task in forging your mental masterpiece. Begin each day by sharpening your awareness. Before you rise from your bed, scan your mind like a blade inspector, checking for nicks and scratches. What thoughts serve you? What thoughts weaken you? Your first battle each day is choosing which thoughts to strengthen and which to discard. I once knew a samurai who was undefeated in practice, but always lost in real combat. His techniques were perfect, his physical condition supreme. But his mind was full of cluttered thoughts, contradictory beliefs, and hidden fears. He had built a palace on a foundation of sand. When pressure came, everything collapsed. You must understand, every thought you hold is either a weapon in your arsenal or a crack in your armor. Those who say it's just a thought understand nothing. Thoughts become beliefs. Beliefs become actions. Actions become destiny. Guard your mind as you would guard your life, because in truth, they are the same thing. The untrained mind is like a garden left untended, soon overrun with weeds. These weeds are your unconscious assumptions, your unexamined fears, your borrowed beliefs. You must become a ruthless gardener. Question everything. Test every belief against reality. Discard what does not serve truth. Most warriors focus only on adding to their minds, new techniques, new strategies, new information. but mastery often comes from subtraction, not addition. Remove doubt, remove hesitation. Remove the 1,000 little lies you tell yourself. What remains will be pure power. Your mind must become like a perfectly forged sword, flexible yet unbreakable, sharp yet balanced, simple yet devastating. This requires daily practice. Read deeply, not widely. Think thoroughly, not quickly. Question persistently, not randomly. Every input into your mind must be scrutinized like a swordsmith examining metal for impurities. Consider how a master swordsmith folds steel thousands of times to remove weaknesses. You must do the same with your thoughts. Take each important idea and examine it from every angle. Test it in real conditions. Fold it into your experience until all weakness is burned away. What remains will be unbreakable truth. In battle, a cluttered mind is a deadly weakness. Every unnecessary thought is weight that slows your blade, confusion that clouds your vision. Learn to think with clean precision. When you attack, your mind should hold one thought. When you defend, one thought. When you strategize, make each thought as clear as a single stroke of a brush. The highest level of mental mastery comes when your mind moves like water, flowing around obstacles, finding hidden paths, wearing away resistance through persistent clarity rather than brute force. This state cannot be achieved through force of will. It comes only through daily refinement of your mental processes. You must also learn to step outside your mind and observe it as a craftsman observes his work. Are your thoughts serving your purpose or distracting from it? Are your beliefs based on experience or hearsay? Is your mental state helping you perceive reality clearly or distorting it? Remember, your mind is not just a weapon, it is the weapon maker. It is not just a tool, it is the tool maker. Every other aspect of your warrior's path depends on the quality of your thinking. A perfect sword in the hands of a confused mind is useless, but a wooden stick in the hands of a mental master becomes an unstoppable force. Forge your mind with the same dedication a swordsmith gives to his finest blade. Test it as rigorously as you would test a sword meant to defend your life. Polish it until it reflects reality without distortion. Then you will understand what it means to be truly unstoppable. The fool watches only the sword. The novice watches the hands. The expert watches the eyes. But the master watches everything and nothing, seeing the whole person as one living message written in flesh and spirit. This is the art of reading without words, of knowing without being told. I have won battles before drawing my sword simply by reading the gap between what my opponent showed and what he hid. Every human broadcasts their intentions like smoke signals, in their breathing, their footwork, the tension in their shoulders, the flicker in their eyes. But you must develop eyes that can see these signals. You think you understand observation? Let me show you how shallow your vision is. When you meet someone, you see their clothes, their expression, their obvious movements. This is like reading only the cover of a book. The true reader of men sees the story beneath the story, the fear behind the aggression, the weakness behind the boast, the uncertainty behind the confidence. I once faced a samurai who was famous for his unreadable face. He had trained for years to show nothing, to become like a blank wall. But in maintaining this blankness, he revealed everything. His very attempt to hide became a signal that screamed his intentions. True invisibility comes not from rigid control, but from natural emptiness. Here is your first task in learning to read deeply. Start with the obvious. Watch how people walk. There is truth in every step, confidence, fear, injury, deception. Watch how they breathe. Breath never lies. It shows excitement, anxiety, preparation for action. Watch their hands. Hands speak a language older than words. In my early years, I studied under a master who would make us sit in the market for hours observing strangers. "Tell me their stories," he would demand. At first, we made wild guesses, but slowly we learned to see the subtle signs, the worn spots on clothes that told of occupation, the calluses that spoke of daily habits, the posture that revealed inner battles. You must understand, every person is like a book written in multiple languages at once. The language of the body, posture, movement, tension, the language of the face, micro-expressions that flash like lightning, the language of timing, when they move, when they pause, when they break rhythm. Learn to read all these languages simultaneously. Most warriors focus only on obvious threats, the sword, the gun, the raised fist. This is the vision of prey animals, seeing only what might eat them. You must develop predators' eyes, seeing both detail and context, perceiving both threat and opportunity, understanding both action and intention. I have known warriors who could read every tell in an opponent's sword movement, but missed the massive signals in their overall strategy. They were like men who could read individual words perfectly, but couldn't understand the meaning of a sentence. You must learn to read at multiple levels simultaneously. Your training in observation begins with yourself. Notice how your own states affect your perception. When you are angry, you see more threats. When you are afraid, you see more danger. When you are confident, you see more opportunities. Understanding how your own mind colors your vision is the first step in seeing clearly. Consider how animals read each other without any words at all. The deer knows when the wolf is hunting not by what the wolf says, but by 1,000 tiny signals in how it moves. The wolf knows which deer is weak not by asking, but by reading the subtle language of movement and energy. This is your model for deep reading. You must also learn to read groups as well as individuals. A crowd has its own language, patterns of movement, centers of energy, currents of emotion. In combat, a group of enemies speaks volumes about their training, their coordination, their morale, all without saying a word. These are messages written in living flesh. The highest level of reading comes when you can see not just what is, but what will be. Like a master chess player who sees the end of the game in the first few moves, you must learn to read the future in the present moment. Every action contains the seed of its conclusion. Every strategy shows its flaw before it fails. But remember this, reading others is not about building a library of fixed signs. This gesture always means this, that movement always means that. Humans are too complex for such simple readings. You must learn to read combinations, context, the spaces between signals, like reading a river's movement to know its depths. Your ability to read deeply is also your ability to hide yourself. When you understand how humans broadcast their intentions, you can learn to quiet your own signals, not by rigid control, which itself is a signal, but by genuine emptiness, like still water that gives no hint of its depth. Finally, understand that this skill brings great responsibility. The ability to read others deeply means you can harm them deeply. Use this power with wisdom. Sometimes the most skillful reading is choosing not to look too deeply, choosing to let others keep their armor, their illusions, their sense of safety. Of all the chains that bind a warrior, none is heavier than the need for others' approval. I have watched strong men become weak, skilled fighters become hesitant, and sharp minds become dull, all because they could not break free from the prison of others' opinions. Today, I will show you how to burn this chain to ash. You think you are free from this weakness? Look deeper. Every time you check your actions against others' expectations, every time you soften your truth to please the crowd, every time you choose silence over honesty to maintain approval, you forge this chain stronger. The need for approval is a poison that masquerades as medicine. I once knew a samurai who was gifted beyond measure. His technique was flawless, his mind sharp as winter frost, but he had one fatal flaw. He needed his master's constant approval. In his final battle, he looked to his master for guidance instead of trusting his own judgment. That moment of hesitation was the last mistake he ever made. Here is your first task in breaking this chain. Begin with small rebellions against the need for approval. Speak an uncomfortable truth. Make a decision without consulting others. Take a stand that you know will be unpopular. Each time you act from your own center, rather than others' expectations, you strengthen your true power. Most warriors don't realize how deeply this need has rooted in their spirit. They train their bodies, sharpen their minds, but leave this fundamental weakness untouched. They are like archers who perfect their aim while standing on quicksand. No matter how precise their skill, their foundation betrays them. You must understand, the need for approval makes you predictable. When your enemies know you hunger for recognition, they can manipulate you like a puppet. They can draw you into traps with the promise of praise, drive you to exhaustion with the threat of criticism, control your actions with the currency of approval. I have seen entire battles won and lost on this principle alone. Warriors who could have achieved victory instead chose paths that would win them praise. Generals who knew the right strategy instead chose the popular one. Their need for approval became the blade that cut their own throats. Consider this truth. Those whose approval you seek are themselves seeking approval from others. It is an endless chain of weakness, each link desperately trying to please the next. Break free from this chain, and you will view the world from a position of true power, not the power that needs to be acknowledged, but the power that simply is. Your training in breaking this dependency must be systematic. Start by examining every decision you make today. Ask yourself, am I choosing this because it is right, or because it will be approved? Am I speaking this truth because it needs to be spoken, or because it will be well received? Am I taking this action because it is necessary, or because it will be admired? The warriors of old understood this principle well. They knew that true power comes not from being liked, but from being truthful, not from being praised, but from being effective, not from being approved of, but from being authentic. This is why the greatest warriors were often the most misunderstood. But understand this, burning the need for approval does not mean becoming cruel or inconsiderate. It means acting from a place of truth rather than fear, speaking from a place of clarity rather than need, moving from a place of purpose rather than permission. I have trained many warriors who confused rejection of approval with rejection of wisdom. They would dismiss good counsel because they thought accepting any outside input showed weakness. This is just another form of slavery to others' opinions, allowing their judgment to control you in opposition rather than compliance. The highest level of freedom from approval comes when you can receive both praise and criticism with the same detached clarity. Like a mountain that is neither flattered by sunshine nor insulted by rain, you stand unmoved by others' reactions. This is not indifference, it is independence. You must also learn to recognize how subtle this need can be. It disguises itself as responsibility, as respect, as tradition, as wisdom. I must not disappoint my master, says the student, really, meaning, I need my master's approval. I must maintain my reputation, says the warrior, really meaning, I need others' admiration. Remember this, every time you act from a need for approval, you give away your power. Every time you modify your truth to please others, you weaken your spirit. Every time you choose acceptance over authenticity, you trade your freedom for a cage. The path of the warrior is often solitary, not because we choose loneliness, but because we choose truth. Let others have their approval. You keep your power. Let them have their comfortable lies. You keep your sharp truth. Let them have their safe harbor. You keep the open sea of possibility. Listen well, for I am about to share a truth that many warriors never grasp. Your daily routine is not separate from your training. It is your training. The way you wake, the way you eat, the way you arrange your space, the way you prepare your mind, these are not mundane details. They are your sword forms in disguise. I have watched countless warriors practice their techniques for hours, then live their daily lives in complete disorder. They failed to understand that Every moment is a cut, every action is a stance, every habit is a battle won or lost. The master's power comes not from occasional intensity, but from unrelenting precision in everything. You think your morning routine is unimportant? That what you do in your ordinary moments doesn't matter. Then you understand nothing about mastery. I once knew a samurai who could perform the most complex sword techniques perfectly, yet his living space was chaos. His eating habits were random, his sleep pattern was erratic. He died not in battle, but from the disorder of his own daily life. Here is your first task in transforming your routine into power. Begin with your morning. The first hour of your day is a microcosm of your entire life. Approach it with the same precision you would use to perform a critical sword cut. Every movement should have purpose. Every moment should have clarity. Your morning routine becomes your day's battle plan. Most warriors separate their training from their living. They are fierce in the dojo, but sloppy in their homes, sharp in combat, but dull in daily tasks. This division is a weakness that will kill you as surely as any sword. The true master maintains the same quality of attention, whether wielding a blade or washing a bowl. Consider how a tea master performs their ceremony. Every movement is precise, every gesture has meaning, every moment flows into the next with perfect harmony. This is your model for daily living. Whether you are tying your shoes or preparing for battle, maintain the same quality of presence and precision. I have trained warriors who could not understand why their combat skills plateaued despite intense practice. Yet, when I observed their daily routines, I saw the answer. Their power leaked away through 1,000 small moments of carelessness. Their spirit dissipated through countless instances of mindless action. You must understand, your routine is not a series of meaningless tasks to be rushed through. It is a kata, a form that trains your mind, body, and spirit simultaneously. The way you make your bed trains your precision. The way you arrange your space trains your clarity. The way you prepare your food trains your presence. The highest level of mastery comes when your routine becomes like a perfectly choreographed dance, each movement flowing naturally into the next, each action perfectly timed, each task executed with full attention yet total ease. This is not about rigid control. It is about cultivating a state of natural order. But remember this, a routine is not about perfection. It is about precision. Even the greatest swordmaster sometimes misses a cut. The power is not in never failing, but in maintaining the same quality of attention whether you succeed or fail. Your routine should be firm enough to hold you when you're weak, yet flexible enough to adapt when circumstances change. Most people think power comes from big moments, from dramatic actions and intense efforts. They are wrong. True power accumulates through thousands of small moments of precise action. Each time you perform a routine with full attention, you forge your spirit stronger. Each time you maintain order in small things, you build capacity for mastery in large things. Your routine should be like a well-crafted sword, balanced, sharp, and purpose-built for your hand alone. What works for another warrior may not work for you. You must find the rhythms and patterns that align with your nature while stretching you toward your potential. Study how your current routine either serves or sabotages your power. Do you begin your day with purpose or chaos? Do you end it with reflection or distraction? Is your living space a dojo that hones your spirit or a battlefield that drains your energy? These are not small questions. They are the foundation of your warfare. The difference between a master and an amateur is not in what they do, but in how they do it. The amateur's routine is a series of tasks to be completed. The master's routine is a series of opportunities to express perfection. Whether signing a document or drawing a sword, the quality of attention remains the same. Train yourself to find the sword form in every action. The way you sit contains the principles of stance. The way you focus on daily tasks trains your combat concentration. The way you arrange your environment develops your strategic mind. Everything is training. Everything is combat. Everything is an opportunity for mastery. Finally, understand that your routine is not a cage. It is a vehicle for freedom. When the basic patterns of your life flow with natural precision, your mind is free to focus on higher challenges. When your fundamental actions are mastered, your spirit is free to explore greater possibilities. Routine is not the enemy of creativity. It is the foundation that makes creativity possible. Remember, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. Your routine is not separate from your warrior's path. It is your path expressed in its most fundamental form. Master your routine, and you master yourself. The power of a sword lies not just in its edge, but in the decisiveness of its cut. I have seen warriors with sharp blades hesitate at the crucial moment, turning what should have been a clean strike into a ragged wound. Today I will teach you the art of decisive action, how to cut quickly, cut cleanly, and move on without looking back. You think you understand decisiveness? Let me show you how deep your hesitation runs. In every decision you make, in every action you take, there is a microscopic pause, a moment of doubt, a flutter of uncertainty. This pause is more deadly than any enemy's blade. It is the gap through which defeat enters. I once witnessed a duel between two equally skilled samurai. One had mastered 100 techniques. The other had mastered only 3, but his cuts were like lightning. Pure decision, no hesitation. The battle lasted only moments. The decisive warrior won not through superior skill, but through superior clarity of action. Here is your first task in mastering decisive action. Begin with small decisions: what to eat, what to wear, when to speak, when to remain silent. Make these choices quickly and stick to them. Do not waste energy second-guessing small decisions. Each moment spent in hesitation is a moment lost to action. Most warriors focus only on the physical speed of their techniques, but true swiftness comes from the mind. A clear mind allows the body to move without the burden of doubt. When you know exactly what must be done, your body becomes like an arrow released from a bow. Pure direction, pure purpose. You must understand. Hesitation is not wisdom. Patience is not the same as paralysis. There are times to wait and observe, yes, but when the moment for action comes, you must move with absolute commitment. Half actions are like half-drawn swords, dangerous to everyone, effective against no one. In my years of combat, I learned that most battles are lost, not through inferior technique, but through inferior decisiveness. Warriors who could not commit fully to their actions, generals who could not commit fully to their strategies, leaders who could not commit fully to their decisions, all were defeated by those who could cut cleanly and move forward. Consider how a master calligrapher works. The stroke is decided before the brush touches paper. Once begun, it cannot be taken back or adjusted. This is your model for decisive action. Decide fully, execute cleanly, accept the result completely. No second thoughts, no adjustments, no regret. The highest level of decisive action comes when your cuts flow one into another like water. Each decision creates the space for the next. Decision. Each action sets up the next action. There is no pause for self-congratulation, no pause for regret. Like a river flowing around rocks, you move continuously forward. But remember this: decisive action does not mean reckless action. The time for thought is before the cut, not during it. You must learn to think deeply, but act quickly. Plan thoroughly, but execute instantly. The warrior who rushes into action without thought is not decisive. He is merely impulsive. Train yourself to recognize the moment when thinking must end and action must begin. This transition should be like a sword being drawn, smooth, clean, and total. Once your sword leaves its scabbard, there is no time for doubt. Once your decision is made, there is no room for hesitation. Most people carry the weight of their past decisions with them, letting old choices drain energy from new actions. This is like trying to cut with a sword while carrying all your practice swords. Put down the weight of past decisions. Each moment is new, each cut is fresh. Your power to act decisively grows every time you choose clarity over confusion, commitment over comfort, forward movement over backward glancing. Each clean cut teaches your spirit that decisive action is possible. Each quick completion shows your mind that hesitation is unnecessary. Learn to recognize the taste of decisive action. It has a certain flavor, clean, clear, complete. When you act decisively, there is no residue of doubt, no aftertaste of regret. The action is pure, whether it succeeds or fails. This purity is what you must seek in every cut, every choice, every movement forward. Watch how nature acts decisively. The hawk does not hesitate when diving for its prey. The lightning does not pause halfway to earth. The seasons do not stop to question their transition. This is your model for action, clean, complete, and always moving forward. Finally, understand that decisive action is not about never making mistakes. It is about not letting the fear of mistakes paralyze you. When you cut cleanly and move on, you learn from both success and failure. When you hesitate and second guess, you learn nothing except the habit of hesitation. Remember, the decisive cut is not just about what you do, it's about how cleanly you do it and how quickly you move on. Cut through hesitation, cut through doubt, cut through the paralysis of overthinking. Then move forward, always forward, like a sword that knows only one direction. The fool speaks to demonstrate his knowledge. The wise man stays silent to deepen his understanding. In all my years of combat and strategy, I have never seen a warrior talk his way to victory, but I have seen countless talk their way to defeat. Today, I will teach you the devastating power of silence. You think silence is passive, that it is a form of weakness or surrender? Then you understand nothing of true power. Silence is like the space between sword strikes. It is where power gathers, where strategy forms, where victory takes root. The silent warrior sees what others miss, hears what others reveal, understands what others unknowingly show. I once faced a samurai who was famous for his battlefield speeches. He would shout his intentions, proclaim his strength, announce his every move. His words were impressive, but they were also arrows pointing to his weaknesses. In our duel, I simply listened and waited. Every word he spoke was a gap in his armor. His own voice became the sound of his defeat. Here is your first task in mastering silence. For one full day, speak only when absolutely necessary, not to impress, not to defend yourself, not to prove your worth. Notice how much of your speech is merely habit, ego, or nervous energy. Notice how much stronger you become when you contain your power rather than spray it into the air like water from a broken pipe. Most warriors do not realize how much they weaken themselves through unnecessary speech. They reveal their plans through boasting, expose their fears through nervous chatter, broadcast their intentions through emotional outbursts. They are like fighters who announce their attacks before striking. You must understand, every word you speak is a seed you plant in others' minds. Some of these seeds will grow into advantages for your enemies, doubts in your allies, or obstacles in your path. The silent warrior plants only those seeds he has carefully chosen, only when the soil and timing are perfect. In my years of teaching, I have seen students who could not stop explaining themselves, defending their actions, justifying their failures. They did not understand that every explanation weakens your position. Every justification diminishes your power. Every defense reinforces your vulnerability. Consider how nature demonstrates power. The deep ocean is silent. The powerful tiger hunts without sound. The deadly snake strikes without warning. They do not negotiate, explain, or justify. Their power lies partly in their silence. This is your model for true strength. The highest level of silence comes not from merely controlling your speech, but from stilling the noisy mind that demands expression. When your mind is truly quiet, silence becomes your natural state. Your words, when you choose to use them, emerge from depths rather than from surface reactions. But remember this, strategic silence is not the same as sullen silence. Many warriors Understanding the power of silence, wear it like ill-fitting armor, rigid, uncomfortable, unnatural. True strategic silence should feel like a sharp blade in its sheath, powerful but at rest, dangerous but controlled. Train yourself to recognize the many forms of silence. There is the silence of observation, where you learn your opponent's patterns, the silence of preparation, where you gather your strength, the silence of timing, where you wait for the perfect moment, the silence of power, where you let your actions speak. Most people fear silence. They rush to fill it with words as if silence were a void rather than a substance. Learn to be comfortable in silence. Learn to use it as a tool, a weapon, a shield. The warrior who masters silence masters the space in which all battles, physical, mental, and spiritual, are truly won. Watch how people reveal themselves in the face of your silence. Some will try to provoke you into speaking. Others will try to fill your silence with their own weaknesses. Still others will grow uncertain and expose their strategies. Your silence becomes a mirror in which others see their own nature. You must also learn when to break silence. Like a sword drawn at the perfect moment, a well-timed word can be devastating. But such words must emerge from silence, must be forged in quiet, observation, and clear purpose. The power of your speech is directly proportional to the depth of your silence. There are times when words are necessary to instruct, to lead, to inspire. But even then, let your words be like well-placed cuts, precise, purposeful, and clean. Speak from a place of collected power rather than scattered thought. Let each word carry the weight of your gathered silence. Remember, the loudest voice is rarely the most powerful. True power can afford to be quiet because it has no need to prove itself. Let others proclaim their strength while you build yours. Let them speak their strategies while you execute yours. Let them tell their stories while you create your legend. In the end, history remembers what was done, not what was said. The silent warrior understands this and acts accordingly, letting his achievements speak louder than any words could. Your silence is not emptiness, it is the fullness of power, held in perfect control. Listen carefully to what I tell you now, for this truth is often misunderstood. True freedom does not come from doing whatever you want. It comes from having the power to do what must be done, when it must be done, whether you feel like it or not. This power has a name: discipline. You think discipline restricts your freedom, that it chains your spirit and dampens your fire? Then you see only the surface, like a child who thinks the banks of a river restrict its flow. And without those banks, the river becomes a formless puddle. Without discipline, power disperses into mere potential. I have watched warriors who claimed to love freedom reject all discipline. They trained only when inspired, fought only when angry, lived only by mood and impulse. They called this freedom. But in battle, they were slaves to their emotions, prisoners of their habits, victims of their undeveloped potential. Here is your first task in understanding true freedom. Begin with your morning. Wake at the same time every day, not when you feel like it. Train at your designated hour, not when motivation strikes. Eat for function, not for pleasure. At first, this will feel like prison. Soon, you will feel its power. Most warriors do not realize that every undisciplined action creates a chain that binds them. Every time they hit the sleep button, they forge a link of weakness. Every time they skip training because they don't feel like it, they strengthen their slavery to feeling. Every time they break their word to themselves, they diminish their power to choose. Consider the master archer. Through thousands of disciplined repetitions, she has gained the freedom to hit any target at will. Through strict training, she has earned the liberty to direct her arrow exactly where she intends. Her discipline has not restricted her. It has given her powers that the undisciplined archer can never access. I once had a student who viewed discipline as a cage. He would come to training when he pleased, practice what he enjoyed, live as his whims directed. This is freedom, he would say. In his first real battle, he discovered his truth. He was free to do only what his insufficient training allowed, free to be only as powerful as his scattered practice had made him. You must understand, discipline is not about forcing yourself to live a rigid, joyless life. It is about building the power to live exactly as you choose. The disciplined warrior can choose to rest because she has earned that right through training. The undisciplined warrior rests because he has no choice. He is too weak to continue. The highest form of discipline comes when the right action flows naturally from your developed character. At this level, discipline is not a set of rules you follow, but a power that flows through you. You do not eat well because you must, but because you have become someone who naturally chooses what serves their power. But remember this, the path to this natural state is through deliberate, often uncomfortable, discipline. Like a sword being forged, you must endure the heat of discipline to emerge stronger, sharper, more capable. There are no shortcuts, no easy paths to true freedom. Watch how people enslave themselves while claiming freedom. They are free to eat whatever they want and become slaves to their health problems, free to waste time and become slaves to urgency, free to avoid hard training and become slaves to weakness. True discipline looks at this trap and chooses true freedom instead. Train yourself to find freedom in discipline. When you keep your word to yourself, you strengthen your power to choose. When you maintain your standards despite discomfort, you build your ability to act independently of feeling. When you stay true to your principles against opposition, you forge real freedom. Most people think freedom is about having no constraints, but look at any master of any craft, the master painter, the master swordsman, the master strategist. Their freedom to create, to fight, to succeed, comes directly from their acceptance of and adherence to the disciplines of their craft. Your discipline must become like your breath, natural, constant, life-giving. It should not feel like a burden you carry, but a power you have built. This transformation comes only through consistent choice, through daily recommitment, through unwavering dedication to your chosen path. In the end, discipline is the price of freedom. Every moment of discipline is a brick in the foundation of your power. Every chosen discomfort is an investment in your future capabilities. Every time you choose the hard right over the easy wrong, you expand the territory of your freedom. Remember, the most disciplined warrior is the most free warrior. Free to act without hesitation because he has trained thoroughly. Free to remain calm in chaos because she has mastered her emotions. Free to succeed because they have built the power to choose success over comfort. Your discipline is not your prison, it is your power. Guard it, build it, maintain it, as you would maintain your sword. For in the end, it is discipline that will determine not just what you can do, but who you can become. The naive warrior dreams of perfect victories and loyal allies. The wise warrior understands that betrayal is as certain as dawn, setbacks as common as rain, and obstacles as numerous as leaves in a forest. Yet he moves forward anyway, not because he is blind to these truths, but because he has learned to move with them. You think preparation means planning for success? Then you plan for a world that does not exist. In my 60 years of warfare, I have seen more warriors fall from unexpected betrayal than from enemy blades, more battles lost to sudden setbacks than to superior strategy. The warrior who cannot handle betrayal and setback is like a sword that shatters at first impact. I once trusted a samurai who I considered a brother. We trained together, fought together, shared rice from the same bowl. When he betrayed me for political gain, many expected me to be shocked, to be broken, to seek revenge. But I had expected betrayal from the first day, not because I was cynical, but because I was prepared. His betrayal became merely another move in the greater game. Here is your first task in mastering this truth. Begin each venture with the quiet understanding that betrayal may come, not with bitterness, not with paranoia, but with calm acceptance. plan for loyalty, but prepare for betrayal. Trust, but create systems that survive betrayal. Love, but build strength that endures beyond love. Most warriors are destroyed not by the betrayal itself, but by their shock at being betrayed. They waste energy on anger, spend power on revenge, lose focus in bitterness. They fail to see that betrayal, like a storm, is simply part of the landscape. The wise warrior accepts the storm and learns to move in rain. You must understand, expecting betrayal does not mean living in fear or refusing to trust. It means building yourself so strong that betrayal becomes merely an interesting challenge. It means creating strategies so robust that they succeed even when allies become enemies. It means developing power that depends on no one's loyalty but your own. In my years of combat, I learned to treat setbacks as information rather than injuries. When my sword broke in battle, it taught me to master fighting with any weapon. When my army scattered, it taught me to win with smaller forces. When my plans failed, they showed me new ways to succeed. Every setback became a step forward. Consider how nature handles setback. The tree bent by storms grows stronger roots. The river blocked by rocks finds new paths. The forest burned by fire returns richer than before. This is your model for handling life's betrayals and setbacks, not mere survival, but transformation of challenge into power, the highest level. Of this mastery comes when you learn to welcome setbacks as teachers, to greet betrayals as opportunities for growth. This is not positive thinking. It is strategic thinking. The warrior who can find advantage in disadvantage, opportunity in obstacle, becomes truly unstoppable. But remember this: expecting betrayal and setback does not mean becoming hard or cold. The bamboo expects the storm, yet remains flexible. The mountain expects erosion, yet remains majestic. Your task is to build strength that includes resilience, power that includes adaptability. Train yourself to find the seed of advantage in every setback. When your best technique fails, you are being taught to expand your arsenal. When your trusted ally turns, you are being forced to increase your independence. When your perfect plan collapses, you are being shown new possibilities. Most people live in hope that nothing will go wrong. Then, when things inevitably do go wrong, they are unprepared, unworthy of the challenge. The warrior lives in calm acceptance that things will go wrong and thus builds the strength to handle whatever comes. This is the difference between hope and strategy. Watch how different warriors handle setback. The amateur curses his fate. The professional learns and adapts. The master has already prepared for and included setback in his strategy. Be the master. Let others be surprised by life's betrayals. You remain steady, knowing that you have prepared for this moment. Your preparation must be thorough, but not paranoid, complete, but not consuming. Like a sword that is neither too rigid nor too soft, your spirit must be strong enough to endure betrayal, yet flexible enough to adapt to setback. This balance comes through understanding rather than fear. Finally, understand that this principle applies not just to great betrayals and dramatic setbacks, but to daily life. The delayed message, the broken promise, the failed project, these are your practice ground. Handle small betrayals with grace, small setbacks with adaptability, and you build the power to handle larger ones. Remember, the warrior who needs everything to go perfectly has already lost. The warrior who can move forward despite imperfection, despite betrayal, despite setback, this warrior cannot be stopped. Let others pray for perfect conditions. You build the power to move forward in any conditions. Build yourself so strong that betrayal cannot break you, so flexible that setbacks cannot stop you, so centered that chaos cannot shake you. This is not just strategy. It is the core of true power. Listen carefully, for what I tell you now cuts against the grain of common wisdom. The world will tell you to seek happiness, to chase pleasure, to follow what feels good, but I tell you this, purpose is a stronger foundation than pleasure. The warrior who chooses purpose over comfort builds a power that pleasure seekers cannot comprehend. You think pleasure leads to fulfillment? Look deeper. In all my years of combat and training, I have never seen a warrior achieve greatness by following what was pleasant. The greatest warriors I knew were not those who enjoyed training the most, but those who trained despite discomfort, not those who felt good about battle, but those who fought because their purpose demanded it. I once watched a samurai who lived for pleasure. His technique was beautiful, his movements graceful, his lifestyle enviable. He trained only when it felt good, fought only when it excited him, lived only for what brought him joy. In his final battle, when faced with a purpose-driven opponent who had embraced discomfort as a teacher, his pleasure-seeking habits became his executioners. Here is your first task in choosing purpose over pleasure. Begin each day by doing what needs to be done rather than what you want to do. Wake up when you must, not when you feel like it. Train when it serves your purpose, not when it serves your mood. Eat what feeds your power, not what feeds your cravings. Most warriors do not realize how deeply the pursuit of pleasure weakens them. Every time they choose comfort over growth, every time they pick the pleasant path over the necessary one, every time they let feeling override purpose, they forge another link in the chain of their own limitation. You must understand, pleasure is not evil. Joy is not your enemy, but they must be the byproducts of pursuing purpose, not the purpose itself. The pleasure-seeking warrior becomes a slave to feeling. The purpose-driven warrior becomes master of their destiny. Consider how a sword is forged. The metal does not enjoy the hammer. The blade does not seek the fire. The steel does not pleasure in being ground against stone. Yet without these uncomfortable processes, no sword can achieve its purpose. This is your model for growth, embracing necessary discomfort in service of higher purpose. In my years of teaching, I have seen students who trained only when inspired, studied only when interested, persevered only when encouraged. They did not understand that inspiration is a fair-weather friend. Interest is a fickle companion. True power comes from moving forward when nothing supports you except your purpose. The highest level of this understanding comes when you learn to find deep satisfaction in choosing purpose over pleasure. This is not denying joy. It is finding joy in the pursuit of something greater than momentary comfort. The purpose-driven warrior can feel genuine pleasure in necessary discomfort because they understand its role in their growth. But remember this: choosing purpose over pleasure does not mean living a life of constant hardship. It means developing the power to choose what serves your purpose, whether pleasant or unpleasant. Sometimes the right path will be enjoyable. Choose it not because it is pleasant, but because it serves your purpose. Train yourself to recognize the seduction of pleasure-seeking. It disguises itself as self-care, as listening to your body, as being authentic. These are masks worn by weakness to justify choosing comfort over growth. True self-care serves your purpose. True authenticity includes embracing necessary challenge. Most people live at the mercy of their desires for pleasure and comfort. Watch how they make decisions. They choose what feels good over what serves growth, what's comfortable over what's necessary, what's pleasant over what's purposeful. Then watch how they wonder why they cannot achieve their goals. Your purpose must become like a North Star, constant, unwavering, independent of your momentary feelings. Let others navigate by the changing winds of pleasure and comfort. You steer by the fixed point of your purpose. This is not deprivation, it is direction. Understand that this principle applies to all areas of life. In training, purpose over pleasure means practicing when tired. In strategy, it means choosing effective over enjoyable. In relationships, it means having difficult conversations when necessary. In daily life, it means doing what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel about doing it. The warrior who aligns with purpose gains a power that pleasure seekers cannot match. When others quit because it doesn't feel good anymore, you continue because your purpose remains. When others choose the pleasant path, you choose the purposeful path. This is not suffering, it is strength. Remember, pleasure is fleeting, but purpose endures. Build your life on the bedrock of purpose, not the shifting sands of pleasure. Let others chase feeling good. You pursue becoming strong. Let others seek comfort. You seek growth. This is the way of the undefeated mind. Of all the opponents you will face in life, none is more dangerous than regret. I have seen warriors survive countless battles only to be defeated by the poison of their own regrets. Today, I will teach you how to live so completely that death finds you without regrets, and how to act so decisively that hesitation cannot birth regret in your heart. You think you understand regret? Look deeper. Regret is not simply sadness over past actions. It is the rust that corrodes your sword of resolve. It is the weight that slows your decisive strike. It is the whisper that makes you hesitate when hesitation means death. The warrior who carries regret carries defeat within them. I once knew a samurai of exceptional skill who lived haunted by a single moment of hesitation in his youth. In that moment, he had failed to act to save his master, choosing safety over duty. Though he survived countless battles afterward, that one regret poisoned every victory, weakened every decision, and eventually led him to a death unworthy of his skill. Here is your first task in mastering the way of no regret. Begin with your next decision. Not the grand decisions of life and death, but the small choices that fill each day. Act with full commitment. Choose with clear purpose. Move with complete conviction. Small decisions made without regret build the habit of decisive living. Most warriors do not realize that regret is born not from wrong decisions, but from half-hearted decisions. When you move with total commitment, even failure teaches rather than haunts. When you choose with complete clarity, even mistakes become stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. Consider the arrow in flight. Once released, it harbors no regret about its path. It does not wish it had been aimed differently or wonder about other trajectories. It simply moves with pure purpose towards its target. This is your model for action, complete commitment, no looking back. You must understand, living without regret does not mean living without reflection or learning from mistakes. It means acting with such clarity and commitment that even when you miss your target, you know you gave everything to that shot. It means choosing so decisively that second-guessing becomes impossible. In my years of combat, I learned that the deadliest enemy is not the strongest opponent, but our own reluctance to act fully in the moment. Every warrior I've seen fall to regret shared the same fatal flaw. They were more committed to keeping their options open than to moving forward with total conviction. The highest level of living without regret comes when you learn to find perfection in complete action rather than perfect outcomes. When you can say, I gave everything to that moment, there is no space for regret to take root. When you can honestly say, I held nothing back, second-guessing becomes meaningless. But remember this, the way of no regret is not about never making mistakes. It is about making mistakes with such wholehearted commitment that they become pure expressions of your path. The master swordsman may miss his target, but he never regrets his strike if it was made with full presence and purpose. Train yourself to recognize the seeds of regret before they take root. They hide in phrases like, I should have, if only, maybe I could have. These thoughts serve no warrior. Learn from the past, yes, but then move forward with such totality that regret cannot find purchase in your mind. Most people live tentatively, keeping one foot on the safe shore while testing the waters of life with the other. Then they wonder why they are filled with regret. The warrior of no regret dives incompletely. Better to fail spectacularly while giving everything than to succeed half-heartedly and forever wonder, what if? Watch how regret weakens the spirit. It makes warriors hesitate when they should strike, hold back when they should commit, doubt when they should act. A lifetime of small regrets builds into a mountain that blocks the path to greatness. Your task is to leave no such mountain in your wake. Your path must be like a sword cut, clean, complete, irreversible. Each step taken with such conviction that looking back becomes unnecessary. Each choice made with such clarity that second-guessing becomes impossible. Each action executed with such totality that regret finds no crack to seep through. This is not recklessness. Before the strike, consider deeply. Before the choice, examine thoroughly. Before the commitment, prepare completely. But once you move like lightning that does not question its path to the ground. Remember, the warrior who needs all decisions to be perfect will live paralyzed by potential regret. The warrior who acts with full commitment and learns from all outcomes lives free of regret's shadow. Let others dream of what might have been. You live fully in what is. When death comes, as it comes to all, let it find you empty of regret, not because you never failed, but because you never held back. Not because you made no mistakes, but because you gave everything to every moment. This is the way of the undefeated mind, complete action, no reservation, no regret. The greatest power moves in silence, like the moon pulling tides, like gravity shaping worlds, like time carving mountains. I have watched warriors destroy their own effectiveness by announcing their every move, revealing their every strength, broadcasting their every intention. Today, I will teach you the art of invisible power, how to move without being seen, how to shape events without leaving fingerprints. You think power must be displayed to be effective? Look at the deepest forces in nature. The roots that crack foundations make no sound. The wind that shapes stones has no form. The most profound changes happen beneath the surface, away from watching eyes. The warrior who understands this becomes truly unstoppable. I once knew a samurai who was obsessed with being seen. He wore the brightest armor, shouted the loudest battle cries, made sure every victory was witnessed and recorded. His enemies simply waited until his need to be seen led him into an obvious trap. True power does not need witnesses to be effective. Here is your first task in mastering invisible movement. Begin with your victories. Learn to succeed without announcing, to win without bragging, to achieve without explaining. Let others wonder how you did it. Let them underestimate you. The shadow warrior takes pride not in being praised, but in being effective. Most warriors do not realize how much power they leak through unnecessary visibility. Every time they broadcast their training, they give opponents time to prepare. Every time they showcase their strengths, they reveal their patterns. Every time they celebrate publicly, they create future expectations that become chains. You must understand, moving unseen does not mean being inactive. It means ensuring that your most significant actions are your least visible ones. Let others focus on appearance while you focus on substance. Let them chase attention while you chase effectiveness. Let them be seen while you succeed. Consider how water shapes the earth. It does not announce its power. It does not call attention to its work. It simply moves, relentlessly, invisibly, shaping everything it touches. When its work is done, others say it happened naturally. This is the highest praise for invisible power. In my years of strategy, I learned that the most effective actions are often the ones no one notices until it is too late to counter them. The obvious attack invites obvious defense. But the unseen preparation, the invisible positioning, the silent strengthening, these are the actions that decide battles before they begin. The highest level of invisible movement comes when your power is so subtle that others cannot perceive its workings even while being shaped by it. Like the force that moves the planets, your influence should be felt rather than seen, known by its effects rather than its appearance. But remember this, moving without being seen is not about deception. It is about understanding that true power does not need advertisement. The master swordsman does not announce his skill, he simply cuts. The master strategist does not broadcast his plans, he simply succeeds. Train yourself to find power in invisibility. When you train, train quietly. When you improve, improve silently. When you plan, plan secretly. When you achieve, achieve privately. Let your results speak so loudly that you never need to raise your voice. Most people cannot resist the urge to be seen, to be acknowledged, to be praised. Watch how they weaken themselves through this need. They reveal their training methods through boasting. They expose their strategies through pride. They broadcast their intentions through ego. Your power must become like the air, essential, but invisible, everywhere, but unseen. People should feel your presence without being able to point to its source. They should sense your power without being able to define its edges. They should know your effectiveness without knowing your methods. Learn to work in the spaces others ignore, to move in the moments others overlook, to build power in the ways others cannot see. The obvious path is rarely the most effective path. The visible strategy is rarely the winning strategy. The loudest warrior is rarely the most dangerous. Finally, understand that this principle applies not just to combat and strategy, but to all aspects of life. In leadership, the most effective influence is often invisible. In achievement, the most crucial work is often unseen. In mastery, the most important progress is often unnoticed. Remember, the warrior who needs to be seen limits their own power. Move like moonlight on water, seen in its effects, but invisible in its working. Let others clash cymbals while you conduct symphonies. Let them chase spotlights while you shape shadows. This is the way of true power. The amateur warrior sees every challenge as a battle that must be won. The master warrior sees each battle as merely a move in a larger war. I have watched skilled fighters destroy themselves by winning every small conflict while losing their greater purpose. Today I will teach you the art of strategic surrender, how to lose battles by choice to win wars by design. You think every challenge must be met, every insult answered, every opponent defeated? Then you understand nothing. Of strategy, in my 60 years of warfare, I have seen more warriors fall from winning the wrong battles than from losing the right ones. The warrior who fights every battle serves their enemy's strategy. I once knew a samurai who was undefeated in personal combat. He won every duel, dominated every challenge, never backed down from any fight. His string of victories led him to believe he was invincible. Then he faced an enemy who used his predictable need to win every battle to lead him into an ambush. His perfect record became his perfect trap. Here is your first task in mastering strategic warfare. Begin with your ego. Learn to let small challenges pass unanswered. Allow minor insults to float by like clouds. Permit lesser opponents to believe they have won. The warrior who can choose which battles not to fight has already mastered half of strategy. Most warriors do not realize that every battle they engage in costs them something: energy, time, resources, position. Even victories can weaken you if they don't serve your larger strategy. The skilled general knows that some ground is better lost than defended, some battles better avoided than won. Consider how water flows down a mountain. It does not fight. Every obstacle, it flows around some, yields to others, seems to retreat only to advance in a different direction. Yet it always reaches its destination. This is your model for strategic movement, not defeating every obstacle, but achieving your ultimate goal. You must understand, strategic surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. When you step aside from a battle that doesn't serve your purpose, you don't show fear, but demonstrate mastery. The highest level of strategy is not winning every fight, but making every fight serve your larger purpose, even the ones you choose to lose. In my years of combat, I learned that the most dangerous opponent is not the one who tries to win every battle, but the one who knows which battles to fight. They conserve their strength, while others exhaust themselves. They maintain their position while others chase glory. They focus on war while others focus on battles. Watch how eager warriors defeat themselves. They rush to answer every challenge, waste energy on pointless victories, disperse their forces trying to be strong everywhere. Then, when the crucial moment comes, they find themselves exhausted, out of position, and vulnerable. The highest level of strategic warfare comes when you can turn apparent defeats into strategic victories. When yielding ground becomes a trap for the enemy, when losing a battle disrupts their timing, when surrender becomes a weapon. This is not mere tactics, it is the art of war itself. Train yourself to see beyond immediate conflicts. Before engaging in any battle, ask, does this serve my ultimate purpose? Is this the right time? Is this the right place? Is this the right opponent? Sometimes the most powerful move is to bow slightly and step aside, saving your strength for what truly matters. Most people cannot resist the urge to prove themselves in every situation. Their ego demands constant validation through victory. Watch how they exhaust themselves winning arguments that don't matter, defending positions that don't serve them, fighting battles that lead nowhere. Your strategy must become like a great river, powerful, not because it overcomes every obstacle, but because it knows how to flow around resistance. Sometimes over, sometimes under, sometimes around, but always moving toward its ultimate destination. Let others exhaust themselves fighting current. You master the art of flow. Remember this, every battle you engage in shows your enemies something about you. Every conflict reveals your patterns, your preferences, your weaknesses. Sometimes the highest strategy is to remain unknown, to let others waste their energy while you observe and preserve your power. The warrior who needs to win. Every battle becomes predictable, and predictability is death in warfare. Your victories should surprise. Your defeats should confuse. Your choices of which battles to fight should leave your enemies wondering about your true purpose. Finally, understand that this principle applies not just to physical combat, but to all aspects of life. In business, not every competitor needs to be crushed. In relationships, not every point needs to be won. In daily life, not every wrong needs to be righted. Choose your battles based on your war. Remember, the warrior who fights every battle serves everyone's strategy except their own. Be selective. Be strategic. Let others exhaust themselves trying. To win every fight, you focus on winning the war. This is the way of true victory. Listen carefully to these final words, for they contain the essence of all that I have taught you. The ultimate battle, the final mastery, is not over others, but over yourself. I have seen warriors who could command armies, yet could not command their own minds, warriors who could conquer nations, yet remained slaves to their own fears. Today, I will teach you how to become your own master. You think mastery means following a perfect teacher, finding the ultimate system, discovering the secret technique? Then you have missed the heart of the warrior's path. In all my years of combat and training, I have never seen a warrior achieve true greatness by perfectly following another's path. The greatest warriors I knew were those who learned from many but followed their own way. I once had a student who sought to copy my every movement, mirror my every thought, duplicate my every strategy. Despite his dedication, he remained weak. Why? Because he was trying to be a perfect copy rather than developing his own power. The day he stopped trying to be me and began to be himself, his true strength emerged. Here is your first task in becoming your own master. Begin with your beliefs. Examine every teaching you've accepted, every principle you follow, every habit you've developed. Ask yourself, is this truly mine, or am I carrying someone else's truth? The warrior who cannot question their own foundations remains forever a student. Most warriors do not realize how many of their limitations are self-imposed, accepted without question from teachers, traditions, or society. They train within boundaries they never chose, fight for causes they never examined, live by rules they never questioned. This is not mastery. It is voluntary slavery. You must understand, being your own master does not mean rejecting all teaching or abandoning all tradition. It means digesting these fully, extracting what serves your development, and creating something uniquely powerful. Like a master swordsmith who learns from many but forges his own distinctive blades. Consider how nature shows mastery. Each tree grows according to its own nature while respecting universal laws. Each river finds its own path while following the unchangeable pull of gravity. This is your model for self-mastery, honoring fundamental principles while expressing your unique power. In my years of teaching, I learned that the most powerful lesson I could give was showing students how to outgrow their teachers. The master who needs disciples to remain forever, disciples understands nothing of true mastery. True mastery creates other masters, each walking their own path. The highest level of self-mastery comes when you learn to be both student and teacher, both warrior and strategist, both craftsman and tool. You must develop the wisdom to guide yourself, the honesty to correct yourself, the discipline to push yourself, and the compassion to pace yourself. But remember this, being your own master does not mean being self-sufficient to the point of isolation. It means having the wisdom to learn from all while remaining true to your own path. The self-mastered warrior can learn from everyone, students, opponents, nature itself, without becoming a follower. Train yourself to recognize the difference between useful guidance and limiting dependence. A teacher should be like a finger pointing at the moon, not a chain binding you to the earth. Take what serves your growth, respectfully leave what doesn't, and never stop forging your own understanding. Most people spend their lives seeking external masters, perfect teachers, flawless systems, ultimate answers. Watch how this eternal seeking becomes a form of avoidance, a way to escape the challenging path of becoming their own master. They remain comfortable students rather than face the demands of self-mastery. Your path must become like a sword you forge yourself, hammered with techniques learned from many masters, but ultimately shaped to fit your hand alone. Let others seek perfection in imitation. You seek power in authenticity. Let them master established forms. You master yourself. This journey of self-mastery has no end point, no final achievement, no ultimate destination. It is a continuous process of growth, refinement, and discovery. Each plateau reached reveals new heights to climb. Each mastery achieved uncovers new aspects to master. Finally, understand that this principle of self-mastery applies to all aspects of life. In combat, it means developing your own style. In strategy, it means crafting your own approach. In daily life, it means living by your own carefully examined principles rather than borrowed beliefs. Remember, the warrior who needs external validation remains forever a slave. The warrior who achieves self-mastery becomes truly free. Let others seek masters to follow. You become a master worth becoming. This is the ultimate achievement, the final victory, the true mark of the undefeated mind.